As excellent as many games are, their control schemes can sometimes be a chore. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 great video games with bad controls. For this list, we're looking at the finest of games that lack in one key area: controls. Be it slow and archaic movement, uncomfortable key configurations, or troublesome cameras, these otherwise fantastic games suffer from some degree of questionable design. Number 10. Alone in the Dark. It's classic survival horror, with some not-so-enduring elements. Alone in the Dark, released in 1992 by Infogrames, was a pivotal entry into the budding horror game genre. Its blend of then innovative 3D graphics with iconography drawn from the works of H.P. Lovecraft made for a chilling experience.
May God forgive me.
Yet, it was not without some clunky design. Both of the playable characters, Edward Carnby and Emily Hartwood, move in a sluggish manner and are difficult to maneuver. It's an aspect of the game that has not improved with age. Number 9. Metal Gear Solid: Portable Ops.
What was that?
Previous entries in the Metal Gear series have had questionable control setups in the past, but Portable Ops on the PSP might just be the worst of the lot because of the system itself.
Oh. Answer me.
In Portable Ops, players take on the role of elite soldier Naked Snake in a mission to deal with the renegade Fox unit.
I'm counting on you, Big Boss.
Call me Snake.
While the game largely succeeds at delivering on tense stealth action, the design of its camera controls, intended to compensate for the PSP's lack of second control stick, leaves something to be desired.
What are you talking about?
Now please drop the act.
For instance, hitting the left shoulder button centers the camera behind Snake, which doesn't help in a game where you need to pay attention to your surroundings.
Simply apply the right type of pain to the right degree at just the right location.
Number 8. Tomb Raider. Sometimes, a game's flaws are tied to innovation. Such is the case with Tomb Raider, one of the first major 3D action platforming games.
So you think all this talking is just holding me up?
With its focus on adventurous heroine Lara Croft, its balance of gunplay and exploration, and a variety of scenic locales, the game certainly made its mark. However, this early PlayStation title was also subject to a difficult-to-manage camera and rigid movement controls. Not exactly the best setup for a game about precise jumps and careful movement. Number 7. Jet Force Gemini. Complexity can be magnificent, but not if the player is left out of the loop. Rare were tasked with producing the Nintendo 64 third-person shooter Jet Force Gemini, about an elite squad battling an insect army. While widely praised for its high production quality and good level pacing, the game's control scheme was less than beloved. Weapons fired in a continuous and awkward stream, which could be rectified by using a semi-first-person mode, except the controls for moving then suddenly switch to the N64's C buttons. It's at once abrupt and uncomfortable, but thankfully with the recently released Rare Replay bundle, the game has been patched to allow for dual analog aiming. Number 6. Dark Souls: Prepare to Die Edition. There's a fair challenge, and then there's sincere issues impeding player ability.
You'd have done better to rot in the undead asylum.
For Dark Souls Prepare to Die Edition, a PC port of a 2011 console RPG, the latter is the case. The core game's brooding atmosphere, piecemeal narrative, and consequence-laden role-playing mechanics were embraced by many, but A combination of bizarre default controls, a lack of on-screen prompts for mouse and keyboard commands, and an inaccurate camera weigh down the experience. Given the game's fixation on precision and patience, all these issues seem counterintuitive. Number 5. Grand Theft Auto 4.
Maybe I should.
Driving should be enjoyable, not a chore. Grand Theft Auto 4 puts players in the role of Nico Bellic, an immigrant who enters the criminal underworld of Liberty City seeking vengeance. As a whole, the game's sobering yet endearing take on crime life mixed with the scope of game mechanics makes for a thoroughly engaging experience, except when behind the wheel. When driven by players, cars are slippery to handle and far too easy to crash, owing perhaps to a looseness of controls. Whatever the reason for this design choice, we're not quite fans. Number 4. Mass Effect. Speaking of piloting less than intuitive vehicles, there's one key weak point in BioWare's acclaimed 2007 action role-playing game. Over the course of Mass Effect, players are given occasional command of the M35 Mako infantry fighting vehicle, a large tank-like transport to drive through environments. At its best, the Mako comes with a noticeable learning curve, yet for many players, it lacks smooth maneuvering and could be easily flipped or stuck in locations. If you want a good example out of the Mako, try using the game's cover mechanic after playing the 2 sequels and you'll see how flimsy it is. Number 3. Scribblenauts. This sleeper hit DS game fulfilled great promises, though at a cost. Scribblenauts, the third Nintendo DS game by developer Fifth Cell, offers players the opportunity to summon any object out of a database of thousands. Coupled with the game's non-linear puzzles, it proved to be a popular mechanic. There was just one issue. Everything is controlled via touchscreen, from character movement to typing in object names. While not a problem in theory, the occasional imprecision of the touchscreen interface and less than ideal pathfinding can interfere with a player's efforts and muddle their commands. Number 2. Resident Evil. Terrifying though it may be, the 1996 survival horror gem had some issues.
What is it?
Maybe it's Chris.
Resident Evil combined pre-rendered backgrounds with 3D characters running around, along with some B-movie style horror elements and carefully controlled player limitations. Unfortunately, this comes at the cost of free movement. Characters turn slowly, can only move in a limited number of directions, and are restricted by fixed camera angles. This tank-like control scheme, while arguably effective at building tension, is also strenuous and unnecessary to the player's experience. The remake has the option to remove the traditional 3D movement, but with the shifting camera angles, it's easy to get disorientated. Before we reveal our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions.
Easy.
Number 1. Kid Icarus Uprising.
I don't believe this! I know, isn't it wonderful?
While Pit's return to the gaming world was loved for its great use of 3D effects, tongue-in-cheek humor, and energetic action, the controls have a massive list of problems.
Whoa! You weren't kidding!
Movement and shooting is controlled with the Nintendo 3DS's circle pad and L button, while aiming is controlled with the touchscreen simultaneously. The discomfort caused by holding the system with one hand makes it difficult to enjoy the otherwise remarkable game.
Listen, this probably goes without saying, but
Yes?
be careful not to fall.
A stand was bundled with the game to reduce hand cramps, except using that has a player more than likely to sit in a hunched position, causing back aches.
Do I detect a note of smugness in your voice?
And that's just the default controls. The alternative options are even worse, but my hands cramp just thinking about them.
And I think that you are going to love this game or hate it, all based on the controls, which isn't where you want to turn people away from your game. You want to make it as inviting as possible.
Do you agree with our list?
You're not the only one interested in those things.
What great games controls really hurt your experience? For more impressive top 10s published daily, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
Do you hear that? Do you hear the people's cheers?